favorite times of service. All right. Senior Minister, Center for Spiritual Living, Greater Baltimore, Reverend Dr. Raymont Anderson has frequently been referred to as a Renaissance man. One look at his resume and the reason becomes clear. As a lifelong learner with a passion for self-development, personal transformation, transmutation, and self-awakening, he lives his bliss as a teacher, mentor, speaker, minister, and so much more. His mission is to live, move, and be inactive, which is an acronym, authentic, compassionate, transparent, inspired, vibrant, and empowered. Member of society who serves to educate, elucidate, emancipate, awaken, and empower people and communities. Rev, come do your thing.
Thank you very much, Tracy. You can go get your tea now.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Good morning, CSL Greater Baltimore. Happy August. We're starting a new theme for the month. The theme for the month, a pause for guidance. Today specifically is time for a tune-up. Are you ready for a tune-up?
Ready.
Are you overdue for a tune-up?
Yeah.
See, I know some folks are like Tracy and they're really particular. I'll just use that word, be politically correct. Making sure the truck, the vehicle, always tuned. Making sure everything in the house, always tuned up. But how often do we make sure that we as individuals are tuned up? Today, it is time for a tune-up, individually and collectively, to ensure we are aligned with our highest life values, which enable us to continue on our path actively, consciously, wholly, and joyfully. We do what is needed to be in alignment with our personal values in all areas of our lives, spiritually, financially, emotionally, intellectually, relationally, and physically. So that's all, nice and well and a bunch of words, but when we say tune up, like what are we really talking about? Because ultimately what we want to know is, well, what's the practice? How do I get this tune up? How do I do this? Ernest Holmes says, whatever you identify yourself with, you will become like. Ooh, pause. Whatever you identify yourself with, you will become like. So if you identify yourself with a procrastinator, that concept, procrastination, then you will become like that. If you identify yourself with whatever that concept is, lack, scarcity, Tracy's signed laziness, whatever that is that you identify yourself with, I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, I don't have the skill to do this or that. Well, that's always been a challenge for me. Whatever you identify yourself with, I identify myself with love, with compassion, with patience, with the ability to be still and to know. Whatever you identify yourself with, you will become like. Holmes goes on to say, whatever you resist until you make it a reality, you will also become like. Whatever you resist. Now, in terms of this, when we are resisting it in a way, because clearly we need to resist certain concepts and certain injustices. The idea is, how are we standing in this place of healthy boundaries, clear consciousness, clear sense of purpose? Because if I am resisting illness, if I am resisting poverty, if I am actively fighting against it as if it is a thing in and of itself, then I am making that more of a reality and I am going to become like it. For example, you know, the story of Yeshua in the desert when Satan shows up and he's like, yo, dude, do this, do that. And eventually Yeshua is like, look, get thee behind me. If Yeshua had gotten into it with the lies, the illusory nature of consciousness, then it means he would have started to buy into the lies, right? Think about this. If I tell Tracy a lie, Tracy, it's snowing outside. And she's like, I looked at the temperature, it's 90 degrees, it's not snowing. But if she argues with me about it as if the lie is the truth, then something in her has to shift to even believe, to fight against, right? So let us be mindful that the consciousness that we are standing in, even when it's something that I am knowing that I am whole, perfect, and complete, even while experiencing whatever this physical challenge is, this emotional challenge, I am knowing the truth of myself. I am not trying to push depression out of my body. I'm not trying to push addiction out of my mind, because then I have to be making that thing, the illness, the addiction, the depression, I have to make it like it's a thing. It is its own power, and it's not, right? So when we ground and anchor to the truth, then we identify ourselves more with that which is of the very nature of God itself. And that in and of itself is part of the process of tune-up. So tune-up. Why does a tune-up matter? So when we're thinking about a car, why does a tune-up matter? Because you want your vehicle to work in the most effective way possible. You want your air conditioning system, your heating system, your furnace, your water, like you want all of this to operate in the most effective manner possible. So you have various parts of a car that when you get a tune-up, get checked. But when it comes to us, do we have that same level of focus and concentration to dive deep and tune up all areas of our being? Holmes says, you are to find the roots of your life in pure spirit. Lose your sense of being separated from your good, and you will find that you are united with it. Hey, Ernie, how is that possible? Because what you find is that there is only it, and you cannot be separated from it. So when you are deeply anchored to the truth of your being, which is pure spirit, this idea of being separated from that which is goodness itself must fade into the nothingness from whence it arose. It's simply an idea. It's a concept. It's a mental construct that culture and society have given us. You are separate. You and you and you are not the same being. Ray and Tracy and Robert and Diane are separate people. Yes, we are separate, individualized expression of the one. But if I focus on we are separated, we are separate, there is separation, then there cannot be compassion, there cannot be empathy, there cannot be unity and love and oneness, because what I am focusing on is separation. Right? So once again, it's coming back to the truth of our being, anchored and grounded in the truth of who and what we are. And part of this tune-up process is recognizing that we are multifaceted, multi-layered beings. So you don't just tune up your body, go to the gym, work out. You don't just do that. You must also focus on, if you want this kind of tune-up, you don't just put air in the tires of your car, but do nothing with the battery and the engine. You don't just do something with the battery, the engine, and the spark plugs, but you never put gas in the, like all of this is part of the process to ensure that the car runs effectively, that your bike runs effectively, that your being runs effectively. So emotions, the manner in which we operate our mind, our critical thinking, our emotional intelligence and well-being, our physical well-being, our relational well-being. All of this is part of how we are showing up, how God is showing up as us. But check this out. Society is very much like a human body, because remember, let's identify that I said at the very beginning, individually and collectively. So if we are going to tune up individually, and there's only one, then how I tune up has no choice but to affect Tracy's tune up in the grand scheme of things. And ultimately, society, there are various pieces and parts in the same way. So if there is my individual way of relating to other individual expressions of God, then how does that show up in the world? For example, in the body of humanity, there is a similarity to what happens in the body of Ray. So if Ray has a heart, that which beats and moves the blood through this body and oxygenates and all that thing, then there has to be some aspect of that in culture and society as well. What is the heartbeat of society? If there is my relational aspect, like I said, how I relate to other beings, how does society relate to itself and others who may not necessarily be in that particular society or that particular aspect of culture? When we really take, there's this idea of, if I am very myopic in my view and all I see is what is directly in front of me, and I am only seeing this one single concept, this one thing, and I'm not able to see the grander scope of, I'm not able to see oneness if I'm focusing on separation. But when I am grounded and I understand that God is all there is, and it is expressing intimately and deeply in, through, and as me, then how I show up is also how society shows it, because it's still only one. There is only one power and only one presence. So when I look at society and I look at culture, I should also be able to see God there as well. It's not just seeing it in, through, and as me. It's not just seeing it in, through, and as Diane. It's not just seeing it in, through, and as Tracy or Robert. Because see, that can be easy. I mean, Diane is an amazing practitioner. Of course, I'm going to see God in her, as her. Right? Robert is an amazing musician. Of course, I'm going to see the infinite creativity of spirit showing up in, through, and as him. Of course. Tracy's a comedian. Of course, I'm going to see the divine humor of God showing up as her. Of course. But when I'm looking at culture and society, is it still as easy? When I open the front door or turn on the news, is it still as easy for me? Or am I being invited to tune up or tune in to the truth of what is, even in culture and society? Where am I able to see God expressing itself in the words, the language that is being used? When our interpreters sign today, am I able to, whether I know the language or not, am I able to recognize that in this thing called American Sign Language, it is the expression of source communicating with itself, through itself, as itself? Am I able to identify food as an expression of oneness? That even with these diverse ways of being as Tracy would say, flavorable, not flavorful or flavorish or flavor.
It's a real word. It's a real word. Look it up.
Yes, it is. Yes. Thank you, Tracy. But if I'm not able to recognize God there, then where am I recognizing God? Ultimately, I want to be able to identify and recognize God in, through, and as everything. How do I look past or through the object back of it to the true objective reality of spirit expressing in those green beans, expressing through that A sharp, expressing in, through, and as that language or that painting, in, through, and as all of it, because God is all there is, which means everything must be connected. So a tune-up for me, when I truly anchor and ground in my consciousness being tuned up, not just my body, but the very essence of my being, my allness, then my tune-up resonates to the deepest part of Dana's truth, and her tune-up must then kick in. But we already know Dana's already doing the tune-up thing, so I'm just using Dana as an example right now because we was chatting on the thing we in the box earlier. Anyhow, I digress. Stop laughing at me, Tracy. We're all connected. So what one of us does affects all of us. Compassion from one of us. When Leslie is compassionate, it causes compassion in me to rise up. When Nancy is having a book discussion, whatever is being discussed is elevating consciousness around the planet and throughout all of creation. Every note that Robert plays, every prayer or meditation that Diane conducts, all of it is up-leveling and tuning us in to the truth of our being. Why? Because everything, everyone, everything is connected. There is only one power, there is only one presence, there is only one mind, there is only one life, and all of it is God, period. So bringing it back, what is mine to do? Where am I? Where are my spark plugs not recharged? Where is my battery not being recharged or replaced? Where am I moving with tires that are not fully inflated? Where am I? Windshield wipers going, which is causing not clear vision through the windshield. Where is my life not functioning at its highest possible optimum level? Then I am invited to tune up and tune in. Ernest Holmes says, your mind as an outlet through which the creative intelligence of the universe seeks fulfillment. There is only one mind, and that mind is God, and it is seeking to fulfill itself more and more and more through your individualized expression of that one mind. There's only one mind, and your mind is it. And so when you tune in to it, then it is fulfilling more and more of itself in, through, and as our lives. But let us not forget, it is possible to deny ourselves the opportunity to self-care. The impulse of the universe is balance, equanimity, harmony. That is the way the universe operates. It's in this state of infinite yin-yang balance. But sometimes we deny that and we operate out of balance. We operate out of kilter. We are in alignment with the discord, the disharmony. We're in alignment with that rather than in alignment with the truth of our being. We're in alignment with lack and scarcity. I'm not good enough. I've never been good enough. I'm never going to be. We align with that rather than being in alignment with, so we can deny the truth of our being. We can operate in a less life-affirming manner. Even though the truth of the universe is divine power and presence, we can deny ourselves that power and presence. It's our choice. What do we choose to live, move, and have our beingness in alignment with? There's this idea of guidance. All of us, some way, shape, or form, are being guided. Either our fears are guiding us or our power is guiding us. Guidance can show up as support, can show up as advice, can show up as someone helping us. How does guidance show up in your life? But ultimately, the question is, being tuned in to the guidance of God is to be tuned into your divine wisdom. So I can ask Tracy for guidance, but there's that part of me that recognizes when Tracy is guiding me to how to use the chainsaw, because Ray don't use the chainsaw. Tracy uses the chainsaw, not me. So I say, Tracy, can you offer me guidance in the chainsaw? Because I'm going to go cut something. She laughs at me because she's like, boy, you ain't never cut nothing, but whatever. I'll give you guidance. Thank you. Appreciate that. But what part of me is recognizing is the guidance that Tracy is giving me isn't just Tracy's guidance. It is the guidance of God expressing itself in, through, and as her, also to God. God's infinite wisdom expressing as Tracy's infinite wisdom, to Ray's infinite wisdom. There is only one. We are all connected. So the conversation between Ray and Tracy ultimately is a conversation with the universe, with itself. But if I identify Tracy as Tracy and Tracy's just Tracy and Ray is just Ray and we're separate and blah, 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 then we may as well be speaking two different languages that will never connect. Exactly. I have no idea what she just said. KKK-boo. I don't know what that means. If any of you do, please type it in the chat and help brother out. The idea is, though, when we recognize that tuning into the guidance of Source is tuning into our own infinite, because there is no God outside of us. There is no Source outside of us. There is only what it is as us. So when we deeply listen with our third eye, with our external eyes, with our heart, with our spirit, with our being, with our skin, with all that we are, when we are truly receptive to all of this, then we realize, oh, there is only that divine wisdom that is showing up in, through, and as me, because God is showing up in, through, and as me. Meister Eckhart says, be willing to be a beginner every single morning. Now, why would he say this? Like, what's the point? What's the point? Well, it reminds me of this time when Bruce Lee in the movie Enter the Dragon is pointing at the moon with the student, and the student looks at the finger, and Bruce Lee is like, don't focus on the finger. Focus on what the finger is pointing at. Because if you focus on the finger, then you are going to miss all of that heavenly glory. So when you see the picture of the young child pointing, do you look at their finger or do you try to see what are they pointing at, right? What is the wisdom, the guidance pointing at? What is it pointing to? When I go to therapy every other week, I don't focus on the therapist or focus on her words specifically. I focus on what she is pointing the direction to, because there is no infinite wisdom that is simply hers, because the only infinite wisdom is the infinite wisdom of the universe speaking to me through her. Am I receptive to it? Or do I focus on the finger and miss all that heavenly glory? How often do we focus on the finger? We focus on the job as the source of our income. We focus on the paycheck. We focus on the whatever it is, as if that's the thing. That's the thing that changes, rather than what is it pointing to? What is this thing? What is Robert's music pointing to? Because if I listen to it and try to figure out, oh, that's an A, that's a B, that's a G, that's a G sharp, that's an F, then I'm missing the beauty of the music. When Diane says, be still, okay, she said B. B is, what is that in the English language? And it's spelled B-E, not B-E-E, because B-E-E is that bug. And if I focus on the individual pieces and I'm focusing on the finger, then I'm going to miss what the words are unfolding and infolding within me, through me, and as me. The tune up and the tune in is to stop focusing on the finger and look at what the finger is pointing us in the direction of. But in order to do that, we have to be willing Be willing to shift, be willing to change, be willing to evolve, be teachable, be changeable, be, I get ready to make up a new word, evolutionaryable. I don't know. Be willing to, Tracy's laughing at me again. Be willing to evolve. Shannon L. Alder says, happiness is always on the other side of being teachable. It's always on the other side of tuning in. It's always on the other side of being open and receptive. In any educational system, when the teacher is instructing, truthfully, when the educator is educating, the child is receptive. And in their receptivity, they grow and they change. But there are times when we think we know it all. We think we are it all in terms of, don't stink. I know everything. You don't know me. We have a degree from Know It All University. Feel free to log in at www.knowitall.com, right? Like we go around life as if I know everything there is to know about relationships. I know everything there is to know about money. I know everything there is to know about God. That's not possible. Because to truly be there, then it means you know every star that ever was, ever is, and ever will be. You know every grain of sand, that you know every blade of grass. To truly know it all, you have to be the very expression of the allness of God as it, not in this individualized incarnation. Because there are things about our own bodies we don't know. I don't know what my liver is doing right now. I don't even know what my liver looks like right now. I don't know what my kidneys look like. I don't even know where my kidneys are.
Really?
Yeah, really. Right? So there are things about our own selves that we bypass, focus on the finger when we pretend that we know it all, rather than be teachable, rather than be available. Our troubles begin the moment our teachers, the moment our politicians, the moment our ministers, the moment our parents, whatever, fill in the blank, the moment our whomever believe they know it all, and our learners think that they are not teachable. All of us are invited to step into the space of teacher and student, to flow between giving and receiving, the law of circulation and reciprocity. But when I say you can't teach an old dog new tricks. I'm focusing on the finger, and then I cannot tune in. I cannot tune up because I'm focused on what's not possible. If we're really going to do this, then it's a balance between love and law, and it's being open at the top, which is what this teaching, this philosophy encourages us to do. Be open. And I know our phrasing is be open at the top. Be open at the top and the bottom. Receive from above and below. In the same way, and I've often used the example, a tree receives light from above through the leaves, but it also, from the roots, receives nourishment through the roots, through the darkness of the soil. As above, so below. Open at the top and the bottom. Be rooted in the truth. And open. How do we step into this space of being willing to truly evolve and grow and learn and shift and evolve individually and collectively? Our ability to access every part of our being is to have access to every part of our divinity. When I have access to love, that's part of my divinity. When you have access to your creativity, that is part of your divinity. When you have access to friends and family and relationships, that is part of your divinity. There is only that which God is, spirit, source, the universe. And so when we have access to any part of our being, how we are being in the world, that is part of our divinity. If we close off parts of ourselves, if we close off, close my ears, close my eyes, close my mouth and close my nose, I can close my mouth and close my nose, but for so long because I can't breathe through my eyeballs, right? If we close off parts of ourselves, we are closing off those parts of God seeking to be expressed in, through, and as us. When I close off my heart, I am closing off a part of spirit seeking to express itself in, through, and as me. When I close off my possibility of being an express, then I'm closing off that part of spirit, that part of God seeking to express. If Tracy said, I'm never going to be good at taking photos with a camera, so I'm just not going to even bother. That would be Tracy closing off that part of God expressing in, through, and as her as photographer. If Diane said, this practitioner thing isn't working, Diane would never say that. So let's just, for the sake of conversation, this practitioner thing isn't working. I'm done. I'm surrendering my license. I'm dropping out of ministerial school. I'm done. That would be Diane closing off, right? We understand the idea. Robert says, this piano thing, piano, what, why? I'm going to focus on lasagna. What? No, you can't play lasagna. Now it's going to be delicious, but we're going to miss the music. Like that would be Robert closing off part of that which is God expressing in, through, and as him, as that divine music that he offers the world. When we are open, then it expresses in, through, and as all that we are. This week, journal about what things in my life could use a tune-up. Tracy, what things in your life could you, never mind.
That's too long.
Tracy said, that's too long. Identify, now this is the key. Identify as specifically as possible. Instead of saying, my relationships need a tune-up, identify specific aspects of the relationship. In other words, my communication needs a tune-up. There's clarity, expressing affection needs a tune-up. Specificity. My finances need a tune-up. My spiritual practices need a tune-up, etc. Keep in mind that if you go to a car mechanic or you go to your doctor, you want them to be specific. You don't want them to just say, so what we're going to do surgery. Surgery on what? Oh, it's part of your body. No, dude, I need to know what you're going to operate on. Two, I need to know why. I need specificity. You go to your car dealer and they're like, oh, your car needs a lot of work. To explain this. No, we'll just give you an invoice. No, you won't. You're going to tell me exactly what you got planned to do, because I might go somewhere else and shop around and no, tell me what's wrong with my car. Oh, yeah, nope, ain't have, right? You want specificity. Bring that same level of specificity to our own lives. What or who is my go-to for guidance? When I'm seeking guidance, what do I do or who do I go to? Do I seek a therapist, a minister, a practitioner? Do I go out in nature? Do I listen to music? What is my go-to for guidance? What is my practice for accessing my inner guidance? In other words, how do I access, trust, use my intuition, my higher self, my whatever I'm calling it? What is my practice for tuning into that? And then have a conversation with 3 people about what is your practice for being open at the top? What things in the collective are calling for a tune-up, and how your practice is aligned with it. As always, if you ever want copies of the PowerPoint, email Tracy and she will make sure you get it. But that's our homework, our call to duty, our invitation for this week. Our declaration is, first I'll say it, then together if you feel aligned with it. Today, I am realigned with spiritual truth. Together, today, I am realigned with spiritual truth. I am realigned with spiritual truth. So we breathe, we ground, and we anchor, knowing that we are aligned, realigned, moment by moment, realigned, re-choosing in this breath, spiritual truth, the truth of our being. So we simply close out this service, this thing called service, by recognizing and knowing that with each breath, we have an opportunity to tune in and tune up to our highest understanding, our highest awareness of the truth of our being. That everything that is true about God is true about us in this moment, right now. That when we talk about our ability to trust, there is also that level that we understand that God has no need to trust because God knows. So when we are diving into this element of trust, this awareness of trust, this human understanding of trust, there is also that layer that says, I trust because I know. I have faith because I know. My faith moves me because I know. I am awesome because I know. And I allow that knowingness to live, move, and have its beingness with every breath, with every thought, with every word, with every interaction, with every person, every tree, everything, moment by moment. And in that, I am creating a world that works for all. And what is true for me is true for all of us. We surrender it into law because the law says, yes, the law is already doing what it does. And this treatment is already answered prayer. And so it is. Blessings and love to everybody.